This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association. Your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Thursday, November 21st, 2024, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Seth Crawford, the GM with PTx. He's going to tell us all about some exciting new retrofit technology from PTx. That's coming up in the show. But first, it's time for a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff. You are watching Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
On today's episode of Ag Matters PM, I am joined by the General Manager of PTx, Seth Crawford.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Seth Crawford. He is the General Manager at PTx. And Seth, good to see you again. We had a chance to speak at Farm Progress a few months ago. Kind of talked about the overall, setup of the organization of PTx within AGCO and how it fits. Could you remind us, please, though, for our listeners who maybe didn't catch that first interview?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. So PTx was formed in April of this year when we purchased 85% of the Trimble agriculture business, and then we already had the JCA Technologies business. We put those two together to form PTx Trimble, and then we brought all of our other precision ag assets together, including precision planting, into PTx. So that's what forms the PTx business for us today.
So Seth, was it able to hit the ground running, PTx, as it all came together over this last year? Have things been operating smoothly for you?
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun to bring the full portfolio of products together. We talk about solutions for every season, and we have more solutions now for every season than we've ever had before. And we have the capable dealer network with our precision planting dealers and our PTx Trimble dealers to deliver those precision ag technologies to farmers that believe in better.
And remind me, please, Seth, but is every single option from a product standpoint with PTx a retrofit option?
We have retrofit options, and then as technologies emerge and gain traction in the market, then they become available through a variety of OEMs where farmers can get them as a factory installed. But our innovation approach really drives for that retrofit first approach first, where we're going on farmers' existing equipment, making it better where no OEM has that. And that's what makes it special, is we're the innovators that are out front leading, and then the equipment manufacturers follow.
And does that make farmers just generally more receptive to new technology and I guess trying to get that latest technology because of the retrofit option and the economic sense that it makes?
Well, especially in tight financial times like we're in right now, where commodity prices are depressed and input costs are high, a farmer can spend money more wisely by investing in the technology to enhance their current equipment. Rather than going out and spending sometimes millions of dollars on new equipment, they can invest in a much more scalable way, upgrade their current equipment, and get the same output that they could by buying new equipment. So we're a much better value.
So Seth, for our viewers and listeners, just to kind of get a chance to visualize a little bit, let's think about the state of Iowa. We're thinking about all of these products that are available. What would be a product that would be very specific to the state of Iowa in terms of something that would just help a farmer and their bottom line?
Well, absolutely. First of all, equipping your machines so they have our latest and greatest capabilities from a guidance standpoint, and then upgrading your planter to make sure that you have the right seed placement, the right downforce, the right closing capability, so you get every seed to count with that proper emergence, and especially from the fertilizer application, with the ability to place the fertilizer right where the plant's going to make the most of it. That's going to help your operation more and more. And now we're expanding even further with our sprayer line to take our capabilities to the next level.
And Seth, it's no secret, but at the end of the day, we're all aiming for the same goal when it comes to the starting point with the seed, the crop protection products, and then when you come in with the technology side of things, of just maximizing those yields, making sure that you're not capping that yield at all and getting that total return on investment that to the highest point possible for the farmer.
That's absolutely right. When you look at worldwide, there are over 200 million metric tons of fertilizer applied in the world, and half of that is never taken up by a plant. We want to change that. We want to help farmers make the most of every seed, every bit of fertilizer, and really their entire operation. And that's what we're truly focused on, is helping them achieve a better operation each and every season.
What have farmer reviews been like for PTx so far since you have expanded and brought more things under the PTx umbrella?
Well, I think at first it's just a wow factor of, wow, you have all of this now. And they're seeing that we're bringing it. They already have the trust built up through the precision planting dealers and their previous engagements with the Trimble dealers. Now seeing it come together, they start to see the vision we have of bringing those solutions for every season, being able to piece it all together in a common user interface in a highly reliable manner, and easy for them to achieve their productivity goals.
So we've talked about, of course, 2024 being a big year for PTx. What are you excited about heading into 2025 and the new year?
Well, I'm excited about some of the new products we're bringing. One of the most exciting for the listeners that were at the Farm Progress Show, they would have seen our Outrun autonomous grain cart. We're taking steps to automate more and more capabilities, and here we're actually taking the operator out of the tractor cab during the harvest season. So it's quite often that operations are one worker down, whether they're off for whatever reason, but now you can autonomously call the grain cart to the combine, fill it, and send it back to a staging area, really enhancing your overall productivity to levels not seen before.
And again, it's a lot of retrofit technology to, for example, an existing tractor that you have already on your operation. It's not like you're bringing in an entire new piece of overall equipment. It's adapting to the equipment you already have to make an autonomous grain cart. It really is remarkable technology.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes on your current combine, it goes on your current grain cart tractor, it makes it autonomous, so the entry point is very reasonable. So don't think you have to go spend millions. We're talking about spending less than $50,000 to take your operation to the next level.
And I remember hearing some of your farmer operators that got a chance to use Outrun at Farm Progress, and they were very pleased with the results. And I think even some of them were a little bit skeptical going in, weren't they, Seth? But they changed their mind completely by the time they had a chance to test it.
Absolutely. When you get in the combine cab and you're riding along and you see how easy it is to operate, you know, how to call the grain cart, how they sync up, how you're able to unload and then stage your grain cart wherever you choose to unload it into the truck. That's really impressive, and I think that ease of use is what we're trying to build into all of our products, and that's what I think farmers will really appreciate.
Seth Crawford, General Manager with PTx. Seth, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa growers know about when it comes to what you're working on and, like we said, getting excited for going into next year?
Well, we're excited to see how we evolve and how we can continue to work with farmers to innovate. And I would just like to say thank you to all the farmers out there for all they do and wish them a great holiday season.
And where should farmers go to learn more?
To learn more, ptxag.com or precisionplanting.com.
He is Seth Crawford with PTx, my guest here today at Trade Talk at NAFB 2024. Seth, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the show.
All right, thank you.
Thank you to Seth Crawford of PTx for joining today's show. And it is time now for our closing market coverage. We are joined now by Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net. At the end of the trading day, we are joined now by Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net for our closing market discussion. Ross, how did we trade in the grains today?
It was a lower day of trade across the grain markets. Corn was 3 to 4 cents lower. Soybeans, they were 10 to 12 cents lower. They were really under pressure for the entire trading session. And over in the wheat market, Chicago wheat was 4 to 5 cents lower. Kansas City wheat was 6 to 7 cents lower.
And Ross, when it comes to that soybean number, like you said, we saw that price drop here today. A lot of pressure on that marketplace as it kind of boils down to right now in South America, the weather has really gone, I guess, in a positive direction for those South American growers. And then like we know, that balance sheet for the carryout this year going to be very big in terms of United States soybeans. You add in that world number, we just know there's going to be a lot of soybeans. Is that kind of what's putting pressure on the market?
Correct. I think right now beans have finally resorted to more of a fundamental trade, and it took some time. You know, you go back to this last harvest when beans November soybeans rallied up to 1070. They put on a dollar rally as the managed money crowd covered that short that they had, and it didn't make sense. But a lot of times when you get the funds wanting to move in one direction, they're going to do it, and the market doesn't always have to make sense. And I think now we have set back into this more fundamental trade. More of the U.S. has a called a 470 to 500 million bushel bean carry out, and the South American weather now is it really turned favorable. They've had really good rains down there. They're planting progress. They're actually ahead of average, ahead of the 5-year average, both the first crop corn planting and the big soybean crop. And those rains and have just added to the notion that South America is looking at a really big bean crop on top of some extremely large world stocks that we have right now. So there's just not a whole lot on the bean side of things that is positive. I will say this January soybean contract closed right around just below 980, 977 and 3/4 today. This is a spot that's been major support. You get around this 980 level. I think from a true fundamental perspective, beans have a lot of room to go lower. I think that's the risk that you got to be mindful of. But if we would see beans start to bounce back above 980, get a close above that, I don't think you could rule out that they could have a decent little bounce back higher. Over on the corn side of things, I mean, corn still by all rights isn't that bearish. I mean, the carryout's a smidge under 2 billion bushels, but corn exports have been extremely solid right now. The exports we're running about 40% ahead of last year's pace. So I mean, corn's got some friendly news that should stay supportive for the corn market.
Let's go over now to the other side of the ag marketplace. How did the cattle and hogs trade on this Thursday?
Live cattle, they were lower for most of the day. The cattle markets really had some strong trading here recently. Feeder cattle, they're up about $4 this week. They were about $5 higher last week. I mean, we've put on about $9 to $10 in feeders over the last 5 trading sessions. And while that's happened, I mean, live cattle finally got a little bit of a pop here on Tuesday this week when they closed about $3 higher, but on the week they're about $2.50 higher. So the big driver of the cattle market's really been this cash feeder market. The cash feeders across the country have just been on a tear higher. The feeder cattle index has really been screaming. The January contract and beyond, they've really been a good sized discount to the feeder index, and we've seen the feeder cattle futures, as the fund's been piling into a big long position, feeders have wasted no time trying to catch that index. There's no question that there's bullish news in the market, and that's why we've rallied the way we have. But the cash cattle side of things have not really shown that bullishness, where cash trade so far this week's been 185 live, 290 dressed, which is steady with last week. And last week that was 1 to 2 lower. So the cash trade side of things for the fat cattle market, it's the opposite of the feeder cattle. So there's a lot of bullish feeling and optimism in the feeder cattle market, and we're yet to see that play out in live cattle. We do have a cattle on feed report tomorrow. The pre-report guesses, they show 100% on feed. Placements in the 103.5 to 104 range, and strong marketing's at 105, but I don't see anything too bullish in this report. And I think we'll probably go back to, once we get past this report, if there's no fireworks, we'll go back to the strong feeder cattle market, and really a function of how far the managed money crowd wants to take this, because they're building into some of the largest live cattle positions they've had since pre-COVID. Their feeder cattle long position through today is likely in the 15 to 18,000 long range. And just to put it in perspective, the all-time record long for feeder cattle is just shy of 22,000. So we're bumping up against some big levels, and producers, cattle feeders, they need to use this rally that we've had to their advantage to get some risk laid off, because these are some big levels and some big managed money positions. And as we saw play out in soybeans, it doesn't always have to make sense, when the market has a big rally or has a big sell off. It's just a function of when the money flow wants to move in one direction, they can start moving with little regard to what fundamentals are doing.
And for our producers that want to find out more and talk to you, Ross, about this very same topic, how can they get in touch?
You can reach me at our office here in Anthem. Our number is 712-373-3276, or you can visit agmarket.net to find any of the ag market brokers.
Thanks so much for the time here today, Ross. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
Thank you to Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net for our closing market coverage. Let's take a look at how the markets close now. You can find those numbers anytime on our website under the Markets tab at iowaagnet.com. December corn closes down 3.5 at 426 3/4. January soybeans down 12 3/4 at 977 3/4. December soybean meal down $1.70 at 287.70. December soybean oil down $1.10 at 42.18. Chicago wheat down 3 3/4 at 548 3/4. Minneapolis wheat down 4 even at 588 even. Kansas City hard red wheat down 6 1/4 at 555 1/2. December oats up 1 1/2 at 346 1/4. On the Merc, December live cattle down 70 cents at 185.60. January feeder cattle up $1.12 at 253.45. December lean hogs up 27 cents at 80.80. December pork cutout up 40 cents at 90.75. Class 3 milk down 49 cents at 18.66. That wraps up our closing market coverage for today, and that brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on social media at Facebook, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Also, you can listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast, which are found on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. And don't forget to check out our daily Iowa Ag Matters podcast. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.